Every day, you essentially pay your dues by doing the harder thing when it's the right thing to do.
So I would say it's pretty rare. I can't even think of almost any that started with one school that they really wanted, and that's where they ended up. But that's also the fun of it, you
Yeah,
know?
sure.
I think that I love taking an athlete and being positive and looking at our list and going, okay, we're going to have those as reach schools, but now let's put in some realistic schools. And when they start going to those realistic schools, they fall in love because they're like, these are my people, these are my
Yeah.
skills,
Yeah.
this is my level. And oftentimes they're not open to that. They're sort of, but not really. So that's the fun part, I think, of being an advisor is saying, let's just take a look, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of from my personal experience, not so much on the coaching side, but just working with a lot of college athletes that are going there, I've seen both extremes. I've seen someone who has a pretty good skill level and can just barely maybe be in the appropriate category, but they don't really ever compete. They don't feel as though they're talent. They're not talent. That's a terrible thing. They don't feel as though they're competitive for a lineup, and they get frustrated because they're constantly on the outer ring versus they actually transfer a year and they're right in their pocket. Perfect skill level. All their friends are on the same page. I've also seen the other one where one of someone that I'm thinking of now was really, really uber talented and actually decided to go to a school where maybe they were like the superstar. And they didn't really enjoy it because it felt like the weight was always on them to do all of the routines all the time.
Yeah.
But that's so important to find, your cohort of skill level or people you really vibe with.
I love that. I call it their sweet spot.
Yeah, that's great.
Their sweet spot, and they light up. They're like, finally, somebody's telling me right where I need to navigate. And, it's really, really fun at that. It empowers the athlete when you give them a voice. And your goal might be such and such, but if you're not stepping back and just enhancing them, but instead you're in front of them, they will shut down. It impacts so many things. So it works to pull back, be the support system, I think, as a parent, but pull back and let them lead. And if they're not really leading, then it might not be the path for them. And that's okay. Because in the end, you don't want them on a team in college when they're actually deep down, this wasn't really what they wanted, that this wasn't what they really wanted for themselves. So keep all of that in mind. But I would say it actually works for you as a parent because you'll see them take ownership and responsibility. And, they just feel really empowered when you kind of step back and do that. Do you realize, recruits, that the coaches could look at 2 skills, well, really 3, and decide if they want you. And that's your kip cast handstand and your round off. And, it's true. Like I can see in a second, I came from a club that was strong technically, and a lot of the coaches from the bigger programs are like that, where they can look at a kid and see her body position, her strength, her flexibility on just those 3 skills.
They don't look for like, oh my God, who's doing a double full and just like chucking it to the moon. They watch round offs. They watch handstands. They watch basic shaping. And like, because a lot of these coaches are either former elites themselves or high level, or they coached in club and are now there. And they know what a great handstand looks like. They know what a great round off entry looks like. And they'd rather take someone who has lots of amazing basics that are raw materials to tweak and fine tune or teach new skills than someone who's got these monstrous skills that are really technically not great. And you have to go back and undo all these bad habits, then fix it if you want to get another half or a 1.5, 10. Like I think a lot of coaches are like, I'd rather take the super hardworking, technically beautiful person with a pretty good skill set that matches us than like this superstar that's just unfortunately really sloppy.
Exactly. The first would be, let's see, to identify those 10 schools that they might want to target. That's the first thing I recommend. And you want to have a couple reach because you're going to keep developing through the years. And who's to say that you're not going to get there, right? So we always keep some reach schools. And then the rest need to be very realistic.
Okay.
So in 9th grade, like I said, we do a lot of the research, we do a lot of education, and they should be going to the right summer camps. Now that, I would say, we just had a staff meeting or on our text message thread with my 7 advisors, and they were saying how many 2023s right now who went to the right camps are getting offers.
Nice.
So it works. Now, when you're a freshman, it's really hard. They often will go to those bigger schools that they're dreaming about. Maybe pick a dream school that summer after ninth grade and pick a realistic. Go to both, maybe a big school, kind of a smaller school. Never sacrifice your academics choices, but, get a feel for both.
Okay.
I think is really good because we don't know what's going to be your realistic till after 10th grade, June 15th. That's going to be but those kids in ninth grade who are level 9 turning 10 at that point, I always say the first year is an experiential year at level 10, and the second year is when you shine because you just have more confidence in your bigger skills. So if you're still trying to get those skills, don't go to just reach schools because they're more fun. Try to go to a couple summer camps that are really going to give you a realistic view of the difference. You got to really do a good job of marketing yourself. So Instagram and YouTube, I would say Instagram is probably the number one place that college coaches are going. They often like YouTube because it's just a bigger picture on their laptop. But when they're just feeding through, just like all of us, Instagram's the fast way to see a full picture of an athlete. So you want to be sure that you've got the right items on your, for example, Instagram. So who do you follow? Who's writing comments about you? Are you in a bikini all the time? I can tell you it's just inundated. Kids are so confused about trying to be popular and be followed and all those things. There's so much pressure. So I recommend having just a gymnastics Instagram. Don't put your personal stuff on there. However, you can have a personal one, but let me tell you, college coaches get on those too and look almost there as much to see who are you really and what are you trying to portray and how are you coming across? Wherever you are out there, they're going to find out. Okay. So you have to be very mindful that it's a business. Your Instagram for gymnastics is a business statement to these college coaches. It's not for your friends. It's not for your grandparents. It's strictly to market yourself to these college coaches. So, we have ways that we help the girls understand this. If they're going through an injury, what should they be saying? What should they be saying after a meet? What kind of things should they put on there? They need to have a headshot, for example. A lot of girls, it's just their videos and coaches don't even know what they look like. And they come to camp and they have no idea what their face looks like.
Yeah.
So, I'm really getting the word out on that. The college coaches have told me that. Things like that, but just really putting clean gymnastics. Like you said, throwing things into the pit, landing on your side is actually a really weak video because one, it tells us a little bit about the gym and what they're allowed to do. And two, it's kind of dangerous. And three, they don't understand technique. They don't understand, the quality of learning the task, the skill through segments.
Yep.
And so coaches can see all of that right away. So, but also they want to get to know you, as a person. So how you comment is huge, and are you building up your teammates? Are you posting pictures about them too? And let's say you're injured. Did you just stop everything? Or did you continue to show them your conditioning and your attitude and what you're telling yourself to stay positive? What books are you reading? What are you doing to be inspired? There's so much kids can do. I remember a few times feeling like, I'm not sure I want to do this, but I didn't want to tell anyone because I felt bad, And so fortunately, my parents were great. They were super unconditional about it all, but you just go through a lot emotionally as a high schooler like that. And I think the one thing I always recommend for parents is to pull back a little and give them some space. So without losing the commitment completely of, most gyms, you can't take 2 weeks off and say, I need a break, So you've got to find ways to go on a family vacation or get away from the sport a little bit, because most of the time they haven't had the opportunity to even have space, I call it. A really good place where they can not go to the gym, not think about gymnastics, not think about college, and really decide for themselves. Because sometimes it's just a break that they need mentally, emotionally,
to
actually revive what's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You know? So it's not necessarily, you shouldn't fear it. I think as a club coach or as a parent, you just need to find a way to still show you're committed, but take a break somehow so that they can decide what is really going on. But I think it's okay. I think emotionally, they're going to go through a period of time where they're not sure they want to do it because they're growing up. They're
Yeah.
developing, they're finding independence. They don't even know what it's like to not
Yeah.
want to do it. Like, that's something they have to explore.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid of it. I think that's the biggest thing I would
Yeah.
recommend.